Hello everyone, my name is Balaji. In this video, I'll talk about stats command. Before understanding what is stats command, let's understand what type of command is it in Splunk. You can see here transforming command. It's saying that a type of search command that orders the results into a data table. Transforming commands transform the specified cell value for each event into numerical values that Splunk Enterprise can use for statistical purpose. Searches that use transforming commands are called transforming searches. Transforming commands include chart, time chart, stats, top, rare, contingency, and highlight. Transforming commands are required to transform such result data into the data structure required for visualization such as column, bar, line, area, and pie charts. In earlier versions of Splunk Enterprise, transforming commands were referred to as reporting commands. Let's look at the documentation of stats command. It is saying that calculates aggregate statistics such as average, count, sum over the results set. This is similar to SQL aggregation. If the stats command is used without a by clause, only one row is returned, which is the aggregation over the entire incoming result set. If a by clause is used, one row is returned for each distinct value specified in the by clause. The stats command can be used for several SQL-like operations. If you are familiar with SQL but new to SPL, you can just click here. You can see the document. Stats command is most used and powerful command in Splunk to generate reports and visualize data in different charts. Stats will improve search performance as it runs on indexer in indexer cluster. I'll provide documentation link in the description of this video. Let's look at different functions which has, these are the supported functions by stat or chart or time chart or any transforming command. So we can see how this will work in Splunk. Let's look at one by one. And I have a sample data here. If you look at, there are 11 records. Just for demonstration purpose to understand easily, I have taken known data so that we expect the results and we can see the same result in Splunk. I don't want to take many events to so that we'll get confused and we don't know how exactly the output we are getting. For example, this is a sample data. I have uploaded this sample data to Splunk. And before seeing this in the Splunk, let's understand the different functions. For example, if you want to see the count of a particular field, or if you want to say a stats count, it will give, it will take field where all value presents. For example, if you see the count of this one, you can see here 10 only. But if you see this one timestamp has all values in all rows. So this will give us 11. And if you see this one, this is also 11. And action here, it will show the count of the action. For example, if you say stats count of action in the bracket action, it will show only 10. And the same way, it will give a rank for 11 because 11 values are present. To take the average, we need to have a series of values. So we cannot take the average for timestamp or string values. If you want to take the average for this one, since this is the total of these 11 values are 22 and the number of rows are 11, so that 22 divided by the number of rows which are 11, average would be 2 of this rank. These are just taken examples to make you understand easily how these functions are working. A distinct count is like, for example, if you want to see what are the distinct values of this user field. So there are 11 in total, but if you look at the distinct values of this one, I have already checked. There are 7 distinct values. If you see distinct count of user, you will get 7 as a output. Or if you want to see a distinct count of action, you will get output as 2. Or if you see a rank same, you will get a distinct count 1, 2, 3 values are there, so that you will get 3. And to find max, we need to have obviously numerical values. So we cannot find max or min for the string values. So if you apply max for this rank, you will get like what is the maximum number in this rank, it will be 3. And to find minimum, you will get 1 as a minimum. And to find sum of these values, it will add all these things and it will give you the sum. Let's look into Splunk how this will work. This is my sample data set as I shown you in the Excel, same data I have in Splunk as well. If you want to see how many events are there total, just type stats count. It will give you the total number of records. You can see here count. We have seen stats count. It has shown that 11. Let's count of user. in the action I have missed one value, so that it should show us only 10. Let's go back to our search and count of action. You can see here count value is 11, which is total number of events of source. And also we have seen in the stats document that stats returns only one row if by class is not used. And we can see count of user also 11, because in all 11 rows user is present. And if you see count action here, it's showing only 10 because one row there is no action value present. So that is the reason we are seeing this one. For example, if you want to rename this one, you can just say that as user count, user underscore count, and you can say as user underscore action underscore count. This is how you can rename the fields in stats. You don't need to use another rename command to rename these things. For example, this one I haven't renamed here. Let's say it will be like count of action. You could rename this one like rename, and you can take count of action as, you can say action count. You can rename like this also. Even this will also work, but we don't need to write one more command to rename this one. We can just say here action underscore count. You can see here action underscore count 10. Let's now see how many times each user present in these 11 records. So now to do that, we need to use a by class. As per the definition, it is saying that if by class is used, one row is returned for each distinct value. That means in the user field, we have 7 distinct value. So we get 7 rows. Let's go back to our search. Stats, count. We need to count based on the user. What we can do, we can just say that by user. So you can see here, search returned 7 results, as we have 7 distinct users in total 11 events. Alex is appearing 2 times in 11 records, and if you want to see whether these count is matching with the total number of records or not, we can verify that by just using add call totals. If you say add call totals, if there is any numerical column, what it will do, it will sum those rows and give the value in the last line. You can see here total is 11. For example, if you want to sort this one based on the highest count first, and then next lower count, what we can do, we can just do sort. To put in a descending order, we need to use hyphen, and we need to say the field name. Here we want to sort count, so that we say count. Now we can see here highest count is appearing in the first row. So we can see cat is appearing in 3 records, Alex is appearing in 2 records, and Jack is appearing in 2 records. Likewise, Bal, Abar, Bob, and Pooh. So this is how we can use by class. For example, you want to see average of these things. Let me remove add totals. We have a list of values now, and we want to calculate average of these things. How we calculate average is we sum all these series. For example, 3 plus 2 plus 2 and 4 1, it would be total 11 divided by total number of values. So in this case we have values 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So to calculate average, what we can do, so we can apply one more stats just to show you how we calculate average. Just say stats average, and for which field we want to count average. Here we need to count average for the field count. We'll see that 11 divided by 7, it would be, we can check it in the Google also, 7 equal to 1.57, and here we got 1.57, so it is matching. So this is how you will calculate average using stats. So since we are already using stats, I want to show you how we can use event stats is like another command in Splunk. Let's understand what is event stats. For example, when you use stats and the function, it will return only one value if there is no by clause. We have seen this already. Let me remove this. We have events here or results here, 7 results, and we want to perform some calculations after creating a new field based on these results. How we can create a new field? For example, I want to calculate average. After calculating average of each user, I want to compare. If any user count is more than average, I want to show the values of the user. How we can do that? Here we don't have average. If you just count average by using stats, it will just transform these results and produce only one record, since we are not using by class like this. So to find out average and to display average from this count in a new field, that is when we need to use event stats. Event stats will create a new field for the results or events available at that particular time. At that particular time means whatever the results at this moment. Unlike stats, it won't transform results into new dataset or new results. That is the only difference between stats and event stats. Let's use event stats. AVG of count as AVG count. You can see here event stats created a new field to the existing events so that if you want to apply some calculations for the results which were there before this command executed. Now if you want to compare whose count is more than average, you can perform calculations, and if you want to see whose count is less than the average, you can do all these things. That is the main purpose of using event stats. Let's go back to our Excel sheet and see what is next. For example, you want to find out how many distinct values are there in the user field. What we can do, we can just go back. We can just type like distinct count of user as DC user. DC means a distinct count. I'm just renaming this field, and I want to see either you can say distinct underscore count to find out distinct values of a particular field, or you can just say DC. This is a short form of distinct underscore count. DC of, or let's say action, and as action, DC action. So let's run this one. You can see here, as we have seen earlier, distinct count of user. There are 7 different users and 2 different actions. You can see the output. Distinct action, distinct count of action is 2, distinct count of user is 7. So let's run another command, and if you want to find out the maximum value from a rank is not available in our data. So what we can do, let's go back to our previous search where we have seen count of each user. From that we will find a max and minimum. Yeah, this is the one. Now we have a count here and you have a data like this and you want to find user whose count is max. If we just run a stats on top of it, stats max of count, as let's say rename it as a best practice max count, you will get only answer 3. But you have a use case that show me the user who has highest count. So in that case, you just let me remove this one. You have this one to answer the question that whose count is max. So the Splunk should return cat. Or if somebody asks whose count is less, then there is a one is the less, and with one there are 4 users. To show the user cat has the highest count. How we can do that? We can just say that first we need to find out the maximum number. So we know that this is the maximum number, but Splunk doesn't know that this is the maximum number, right? So there should be one more column which contains the maximum number, and using that new column, we can compare the count and max count. Then we can return the user. So for that, what we can do, we need to create a new field. To create a new field, we can use event stats, and we need to find max count as max count. So we'll get max count 3. So now we know max count is 3. So what we have to do, wherever this count and max count matches, we need to return that record so that we'll have the answer for our question that who has max count. Let's see how we can do that. What we have to do, where count equal to max underscore count. Now you can see it's returning one record. It's saying that user cat and count is 3 and max count is 3. Okay, now I want to find out the users who has a minimum count. If you see the count here, what is the minimum of these values? 1 is the minimum. To find out the minimum, we know that stats min of count will give us the count. But using this one, if you want to find out the users, we cannot find. We want min count to be added to rows so that we can compare. To do that, we can use event stats min of count as min count. So now we will get one more field here. You can see min count is present here with the value 1. Now wherever this min count matches with the count, we need to return those records. Then we will get users with the min count. So now to see that where count equal to min count. You see this one, there are four users with a min count. We have got all those four users. These are the kind of real-time examples I'm explaining here so that you will understand easily and you can apply these techniques in your daily jobs. So we have seen min, max, distinct count. Let's look at sum. So let's take the same series again. We have same series here. We have a count, and if you want to count all these values, what we can do, we can just say that stats sum of count. So that we will get a total number. It's 11. 11 records are there. Next, let's look at. Okay, so before understanding earliest and latest, I want to explain a little bit more here. So to understand earliest and latest, we need to depend on timestamp. For example, we have, let me take only one value. Let me take cat here. Okay, I want to show for the user cat, there are multiple actions like login, logout, and login. So if I want to see that when is cat first time logged in, so if you see this one, if I look at logins, there are two logins, 1118 and 1127. But I want to find out the first login of the cat. How I can do that? So if I want to find out first login of the user cat, so what we have to do, we need to apply some kind of filters here. We need to, let's take like how we applied filters here. We have applied filter on user field. What we said, user equal to only cat. If you look at here closely, you just see it here. We have taken only cat. In the same way, in Splunk, we can do user equal to cat so that we will see the records which are related to cat. Now, if you want to find out the earliest activity of this user, it could be login or logout. First, we will concentrate only on user. Okay, so here, if you look at this one, the first activity of this user is 1118, right? So to find out that one, what we can do, we can use a function called earliest in Splunk. Let's take that one stats earliest underscore time as earliest time. Let's make it underscore time so that it will automatically format. I'll show you why it will not format if I rename to a different field, and why it will format if I name it to underscore time. Let's look at earliest time. Let's see. You can see here earliest time of this user cat. Let's understand why Splunk formats the time if it is named to underscore time. You can see it here. When I rename this to underscore time, it is formatting. Let's say latest underscore time. It's not formatting. The reason why it is highlighting, because it is one of the function. So it's not recommended to use function. We can say latest time. You see it here. Now the time is not formatted. That's the reason if you want to automatically format this timestamp to a human readable format, if you just rename this time to underscore time, it will automatically format. For example, in the same stats command, you want to find out earliest also, earliest underscore time. This time you cannot have underscore time here and again underscore time here. Let's try to rename this one to underscore time and this one too. It will throw an error because we are renaming two fields to a one field. You can see here duplicate renames underscore time. So in this case, we cannot use underscore time. Let's say latest time and this is earliest time. You see it here. It is showing in epoch time. Now to convert this epoch time, there is a command called convert and the function is ctime. We need to convert two fields here, latest time and earliest time. Since we cannot specify multiple fields here, what you can do, we can use Splunk wildcard here, that is asterisk. Asterisk, the common value in these two fields is time. Let's say time, and you want to format epoch time into a particular format. There is an option time format. If you are familiar with time modifiers, you can use, for example, to show it in a day, month, year, and time, we can use percent %d and percent %m forward slash is separator, percentage %y, and to show complete time you can just use percent %t. You can see it here now, the date is formatted for these two fields. This is the main difference using underscore time and using some random field name. And if you want to see the user, you can just say that by user. We know that if you use by class, it will show for all users. Since we have already applied filter here using user, so we know that there is only one value for user. It will show, if you see here, user cat, and earliest time is this one, 1118, which is what we expect. If you want to see last cat activity, it could be login activity or it could be logout activity. I want to display 1127. For that, what we can do, there is a function called latest. Take latest. You can see here now it is showing 1127. This is what we are expecting. These are the most common functions used in stats, or it could be used in event stats. Okay, so let me just go back to previous search. I need numerical values to show you median, mode, and mean. Let's go back to our previous search. Okay, let me put this one. We have a field count like this. And, just to make you understand, we have seen average, we have seen count, and we have seen distinct count. This we don't use much, so I didn't take this one. And max we have seen. Median I'll show you now. Min also we have seen. Mod also I'll show you, and I'll show you range how to use that one. Standard deviation. This is like advanced functions where if you want to find some kind of deviations of range of a series of numbers, you can use standard deviation or variance. We have seen some also. We have seen earliest and we have seen latest. These are the commands mostly used in stats or event stats. Now let's look at median and mode. Okay, let's assume we have column count. Let's apply stats average count as average count, mean. Mean is not there. If you look at here, mean is not available, but still it works mean. The mean and average both are same. There is no difference. Mean of count as mean count, mod of count as mod count, median count as median count. You see here we have taken average and mean. So the average is overwritten with mean, and we are not seeing a value for average. Let me just remove this one mean, and then we should see value for average. Just remember this mean count 1.57, and average count also should be the same as we have seen earlier. Let me just remove this one and display average count. You see this one now, average count is displaying, so that means average and mean both are same, and it's overwritten. Anything is fine. Now let's understand what is mod. So to understand these things, we don't have data here displaying, so it's very difficult for me to explain. Let me just put event stats so that we'll have along with the data we'll have all these values as well. We know that how to calculate average for this count. As I explained before, we need to sum all these values of the count and divided by how many rows are there in this case. Now we'll get the average count. Median will be calculated. First series of numbers will be rewritten ascending order. If we rewritten these series, for example, let me just write here 1 1 1 1 four ones and two. How many twos are there? Two twos are there, and three. So total there are seven numbers. 4 plus 3. These 4 plus 3. So to calculate median, how median will be calculated? Like median will be always the middle number. Once you rewrite your series of numbers, the median will be like middle number. So here, if you look at this one, 3 first side and 3 here. So the middle number is 1. So you can see median count is 1. Mod will be calculated that the value which has occurred many times in the series. If you look at our series, there are 7 numbers. One is repeated 4 times. So you can see here mod count is 1. For example, we have a series like 2, 2 and again 2. In case mod will be 2 because 2 is repeated many times. So we have two more functions here, list and values. Let's understand how list and values will work. For example, if you want to see distinct values, like we have seen here, distinct count, stats, DC of, as I told you, either we can say distinct underscore count or DC of user, whatever is fine, DC user. Right, so it is showing the total value 7, but if you want to see what are the 7 distinct values in the user field, we can say that values of user, values user, it will show the distinct user value in a multi-value field. This will be a multi-value field. You can see here in the stats functions, these are all multi-value stats and chart functions. Whenever you apply this function list or values, it will create a multi-value field like this. For example, if you want to see what are the actions, what are the distinct actions performed by these users, you can just write, that is kind of real-time example. Just say that stats values of actions as values action. So you can see values action. If you want to see what are the actions performed by these users, you can just use that by clause and say user. You can see here Alex has two values, login and logout. And ball, there is no action for ball, so that's the reason it's empty. But for cat, you might ask question for cat. If I just apply filter here, for cat, there are three actions. Why we are seeing only two actions for cat, login and logout? Why we are not seeing login, logout, and again login? The reason why we are not seeing all the values, we have applied values. This will show only distinct values. For example, if you want to see all the values of that particular user, that is when we need to use list function. For example, if you want to see how list function works, let's look at that one. List of action as list action. Then you can see all the actions of that particular user. You see here, you can see login, logout, and login. This will maintain order also. These values will not be shuffled. For example, if you see here, login, logout, and login. It's in the same fashion it will display. It will maintain the order also. It will not shuffle the records. For example, tomorrow if you want to see what happened first and then what happened next for a user, you can just apply list. There are very less number of values, less number of records. Otherwise, list will grow and you may get a warning that some of the values are truncated for this list underscore action field. This is the main difference between values and list function of stats. So I think I have covered most of the functions here. So these are the main functions used in Splunk when it comes to stats or charts or event stats. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.